Okay, we will call this re-entry. Should I stay or should I go? When should I move home? Re-entry and relocation. So this one is super personal, super nuanced. If you haven't watched my first video, which you should have, in the overview, I give a disclaimer that this is not medical advice, this is not insurance advice, this is not construction advice, this is not specific advice because there's so many variables that impact everything. Is your work remote? How much family do you have where you live? How contaminated was your home? How sick are you and how immunocompromised are you? Can you afford to just leave? So I'm not giving specific advice of should you move or not. I'll give you some guidance around how to approach thinking about it though. So when can I go home? To those who are evacuated, were evacuated, and they're thinking about it. And I'll tell you a story too, but I wouldn't want to go home until and it's nuanced because it depends on how contaminated your home was and the area around your home. But let's just say you were a couple miles from the fire, your home had ash and soot and heavy smoke damage, but it did reasonably okay. So you're having a restoration claim. You have significant smoke damage. It could be about a 3-month process. And usually by then, it could be a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, but I would err on the side of caution, especially if you have children. Because remember, all those homes that burnt, that have piles of ash, the wind is still kicking it up. As other people are remediating and restoring their homes and throwing contents outside, they're contaminating the air, which contaminates your home. I would want to ensure that my home has been safely remediated, the homes around me have been remediated, and we've done post-testing. So we've tested the carpets, we've tested some soft materials, we've done an air sample, there's no odors in the home. So I would want the whole home to be clean. I'd want air filtration systems running. Like if you're in this situation, it's imperative that you invest in air filtration because if you don't, your home's just going to recontaminate again. I'll tell you a story in a second. So you want your whole home to be remediated. At least a couple months have passed for the wind to do its thing and other people have to got a decent amount into their remediation process. And then you want air filtration running in the bedrooms and in the main living areas of the home. So if you have a 2,500 square foot, 3-bedroom house, you'd have 3 air purifiers, 1 per bedroom and 1 in the main living room. Protect the sleepers, protect the mattresses, protect the couch, the common areas. This is really important. Should I move? And when can I go home? Also, if you're going home and feeling unwell, if someone in your family is feeling sick, probably don't go home yet. And should I move? This is another big one. I mean, the time when I would move would be for sure if, let's say, like my whole street burned down and my house is still standing. First of all, I'd be fighting tooth and nail with the insurance company to knock down my house because the whole purpose of insurance is to protect your investment. So if all the other homes on the street got burnt, if there was homes like within, a quarter mile of your home that were burnt down, imagine the amount of heat and smoke and damage that your home took on. Guaranteed your roof structure's compromised, your windows, your seals, your attic. The whole street's gonna have brand new homes and you're gonna have an old home. Good luck selling that house. So I would be doing everything I could to fight to get my home knocked down and rebuilt if my neighbors' homes were also burnt down. Basically, if I was adjacent to or even within a few lots of a burnt home in my area, took a lot of total loss, I'd be really advocating to get my house rebuilt because your home survived, but it was an anomaly. I mean, some people in LA might have had like a $30 million home with concrete and super dialed in systems to deal with wildfire smoke. I'm not speaking to you. Hopefully you have the experts in your corner to assess the structure and the materials and do a smoke damage claim and figure things out. But just the closer you were to homes that were totally lost, the more contaminated your home is. And if you're in a DIY, like if you didn't have ash, you didn't have soot, I'd still want to be waiting a month. that would be nice. At least 2 weeks, closer to a month would be better. And then I may drive in and spend, 3 or 4 people for 4 days. You could probably, watch my other video on how to do a DIY deep cleaning of your home. I would go through that process. I'd get my ducts cleaned, my HVAC cleaned, deal with all my services, clean all my contents, have my air filters running the whole time, keep the air filters running for a few more days before I would move home. So I will end with the summary that this is all nuanced, how badly you have to be there. Are you a critical, essential employee or person who needs to be in town? You got to weigh all these factors, but generally you want to let some time for the ambient air to recover. You want to have your home remediated, and then you want your air filtration systems running. So as outside air is coming in, you're dealing with it. And I'll tell you a story. It's actually the story of why I created Jaspr in the first place. So I was in Fort McMurray, 2016 in Alberta, and a lady named Tanya, we remediated her home. We only got re-entry to the city a month after the fire. And then it took us about another 3 weeks to restore Tanya's home. And there's actually another company who started before us. They got fired for they said they were done. Tanya called us in to do a third-party verification check of the home. I found ash and soot on windowsills, door frames, in the attic, and their baby was on a nebulizer, significantly immunocompromised baby. I remember this vividly because we went viral on Facebook, thousands of shares on her Facebook post. And so we did a re-clean of the home. We removed and replaced the attic insulation. We re-cleaned the home. We threw out a lot of the contents, the furniture, steam cleaned carpets, threw out rugs, professionally cleaned clothing, and then ended up throwing out a lot of the contents. We checked the air quality. We checked the services. It passed. We told Tanya and her family and the insurance company, you're good to move home. They moved back in, and we got a call a week later that their little baby, who was a little less than a year old, was in the hospital. We're like, what the heck? We checked this out. What's going on? We go back to the house. We checked the air quality again, and they were right. The house was severely contaminated. And now this was 7 weeks, 2 months after the fire. So we were pretty shocked. This was early on. So what did we do? We called the insurance company, said, hey, we have a mutual client. They moved home. Baby's back in the hospital. I proposed they move back out of town for another month, and we wait till the ambient air in the environment is at a safe level. Then we'll do a re-clean of the home. We don't have to do everything again, but another deep clean of the home, heavy air filtration, and then they can move back home. We'll recheck the air, and we'll make sure it's stable. Then they can move home. Insurance said, hell no. So sad, too bad. They already signed off. The check is on the way to you guys. We don't clean twice. And that gave me that harsh reality of the situation we were dealing with. And the business part of me gets it. How could insurance possibly clean twice? But everybody followed the proper protocol. We had a sick baby. We have a family who can't move home. We got to take care of this. So there was no way we were going to, on my watch, was I going to let that family suffer. So what I did is I brought back a few of our big industrial air scrubbers. It looks like a subwoofer, like a photocopier. These big, ugly, loud industrial air cleaning machines. Super effective, but very loud, very ugly. And within a few hours, the air in their home was clean again. And remember, insurance at this point wasn't going to pay for cleaning, wasn't going to pay for hotels, wasn't going to pay for anything. So we put the scrubbers in there. Within a few hours, the air was good. They were able to live in the home. It was a little bit loud, but they were able to live in their home until the ambient air was at a reasonable level. Now, this started happening to more families too. We're like, oh shit, we can't leave all of our commercial grade air scrubbers at everybody's homes because then we have no equipment to clean the next people's house. So what I did, they had a Best Buy or Home Depot, Walmart, big box stores. I went there and I bought 6 air purifiers, the kinds that would be $200, $300, $400, $500 each. And I brought it to the house. And I said, hey, let's just leave these here. You guys were great customers. You can keep them. Remember, the rental rate on air scrubbers could be $125 a day. So we needed these more. It was cheaper, more cost effective, and a better solution for the family if we just gifted them 5 or 6 air purifiers. Well, we put the 5, 6 air purifiers there, and within a couple hours, the air quality was getting worse again. We have our particle counters so we can measure the air in real time, and the air quality was getting worse again. We're like, whoa, that was eye-opening for me because I realized, holy, these little air purifiers that you get at the store, Amazon, Walmart, Best Buy, Home Depot, etc., they're not doing the job. The air is actually getting worse with these air purifiers running on full speed, a bunch of them. And that was my big aha moment because I realized, whoa, and I started researching other wildfires. And that's when I figured out that air quality after wildfire situations can stay compromised for many, many, many months or longer. So that's when I set out on the journey to create Jaspr in the first place. I'm like, wow, we need commercial grade air scrubbers. But I had another customer named Angela, and we had the scrubber at her house, and I went back to her house. She had a baby too, and she unplugged it. I'm like, Angela, what are you doing? Your air is super toxic. And she's like, but they're so loud and they're so ugly. Like, I just can't take it. And that was just this big light bulb moment for me. It's like, wow, wildfires are becoming more and more prevalent every year. You either have these massive, ugly, commercial grade air purifiers, scrubbers, or these cute, cost-effective air purifiers that can't do the job. So that dawned on me. I'm like, whoa, I need to create a commercial, industrial grade air purifier, just like the ones that we were using from a performance standpoint for floods, fire, mold, but it had to be beautiful. It had to be quiet. It had to be automatically adjusting to the environment. So I just wanted to share that story because that was my aha air moment of how ambient air works. And then, I can't believe Jaspr is now for allergies and sleep and focus and a general health and wellness product. But that was the story that inspired me to create Jaspr in the first place. And that is why I believe that clean air is a right. We breathe 15,000 times a day. We consume way more microplastics and mold and pollen and pollution via air than water or food. And especially if you live in a place with allergies or urban pollution, urban environments, wildfire smoke, cleaning your air is essential because people who didn't lose power, we had a lot of customers who had 4 or 5 Jaspers running, even 2 or 3 in LA, not far from the wildfire smoke. Their Jaspers ramped up. Their home stayed pristine. They don't have any smoke damage. They don't have any ash. They don't have any soot. The Jaspers kicked into gear and protected their home. So now they're saving tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars because air is not always linear. It could be okay one day, get bad the next day, but if it got bad, it contaminates everything in your home. So anyway, that's a little bit of a story of how I learned about, how long air stays bad for a while. And we touched on when can you go home? Should you move? But no matter what, air filtration is essential.